Coverage on Cathay Pacific has undoubtedly been very much centered around the negatives. It's honestly safe to say that it's been hard to move away from topics such as these with the increasingly difficult climate surrounding the Hong Kong carrier. And, generally speaking, the conditions this part of the world has faced with the emergence of the pandemic and therefore the harsh restrictions implemented on people far and wide. However, Cathay Pacific has remained optimistic that the future will indeed be bright. Of course, there's still much work that still needs to be completed before this can be achieved. I thought though, why not take a sit-down look at some of the carrier's plans for the future. The airline is hoping to continue rebuilding its network, which it has started to do in recent months. However, what can be noted is figures continue to highlight the airline is some distance away from achieving such a thing, with on a continued basis there being a 98 to 99% fall in passengers carried over pre-pandemic numbers. Often only say 50,000 or fewer passengers are carried every single month. So naturally, an airline like Cathay Pacific certainly is not where they want to be, and with no massive strides in movement, it's left many people asking, what's next? The airline is looking towards new aircraft and expanding its employee base. Both reports did emerge from Bloomberg, and to begin with initially, we should look at what plane they're studying. And that's in the region of short to medium haul fleet. This includes services to Australian destinations, a critical part of the makeup of their operations, and then we have your routes located within Asia, which have been a little harder to maintain. Cathay was certainly an airline that struggled throughout the pandemic due to the inability to have an international and also domestic network, if you will. While a decision on when to go to the market and purchase these aircraft has not been made, they are an important solution for the future, and it's essential that eventually they do head in the right direction. Again, whichever option they move towards will also be an opportunity for both Airbus and Boeing to secure another contract for aircraft for whichever respective program the Hong Kong airline decides to opt for. However, while aircraft may be at the forefront and seem definitely the most exciting, there's more to Cathay Pacific's return than just the acquiring of new, fresh planes. It's actually in the form of hiring staff, or should I say, rehiring staff. This is a very sensitive topic among many. One of the most challenging parts of the pandemic was that of airlines laying off employees. Now, with the surge in demand, I'm sure you've been able to see it worldwide just by looking at the headlines. So many airlines are in disarray, unable to find enough ground staff, and so much more. It's an absolute recipe for disaster, and now us, the customers, are feeling the effects of the delayed flights, cancelled flights, networks shrinking, bags going missing, and look, there's so much more on top of that. Now, despite the goals of Cathay Pacific, rehiring this many employees is not as easy as it may seem. The way the airline has treated employees, as mentioned earlier, does not leave many wanting to return or be present in such conditions, which is fair enough, and upon further research we can see that. Upper management has been crucified online, you may have seen this as well, following news of the goal to hire more crew, with many saying they're an embarrassment, and the conditions are not competitive now by any means. So therefore, sourcing these various employees is going to be tricky, because many people don't want to go back and work for Cathay Pacific. They're in a very difficult situation. A major airline within the global aviation industry that has had it so rough throughout the pandemic and is now struggling to fulfill certain roles to actually see that return. If you have any thoughts on the airline, please do let me know down below in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you next time.